Alright, so last video I covered a couple monsters that since then either got a rework or there's just a bunch of new monsters that I haven't covered yet. So yeah, let's start with those. If you've seen part 1, which you probably have, I've already explained Rosemary, but I'm gonna redo her because of a recent rework she had. She has a new passive ability that outlines players who make noise every now and then. Demonic Shriek hasn't changed that much. She still screams like a baby, but instead of draining stamina, it deals 5 damage now. Her new ability is Slightless Essence, She coughs up this funky black smog that drains the stamina of survivors who get close. Just like how my crippling gambling addiction has drained my wallet. That's all. Guys, I know, you can stop telling me I forgot MX. I didn't feel like doing him in part 1. Stop. Anyways, his passive makes it so that for every time he uses his M1, he pauses for a second, so every hit counts. His second passive makes it so that whenever he kills someone, every player gets highlighted and his cooldowns are immediately taken off. Kinda crazy if you ask me. His first ability, Charge and Demise, makes him wind up and start dashing at terrifying speeds, because we all know there's nothing scarier than an athletic fat man. It deals like 9 damage per tick, so if you catch someone in a long hallway, they're basically dead. Pow Hop makes him leap into the air and force nearby players into a quick time event, and if they fail, they get stunned for a second. It's a pretty good way to catch up, but you can even insta-kill players by landing on them. Ugh, I hate MX and all stupid names. Stupid.
Unexpected item in bagging area.
Oh. Hey, I'm gonna take your channel. For absolutely no reason. I'm just kinda bored.
I'm just not gonna let you take my channel.
Well, too bad. I'm taking it anyway. Baldi is a weird monster. He has infinite stamina and speeds up for every kill and notebook collected, but one of his drawbacks is his weird movement method that makes it harder to make sharp turns sometimes and easier to get used. For ability 1, he places a notebook and anyone who runs into it has to answer a question. Getting it right deals 5 damage, and getting it wrong deals about 20 damage. I don't really know. His second ability, Anti-Hearing Tape, is genuinely kinda busted. It completely mutes your roller slaps, plays this loud, annoying ringing sound, and highlights players nearby. This wouldn't be that bad if the cooldown was longer. But no, the moment the tape vanished, you just have to wait like 6 seconds before placing another. Overall, he's kind of underrated, kind of boring, and a little annoying. So, do you want your channel back?
Dude, obviously I want my channel back.
Yep. Oh, okay. I'll leave now. I'll leave. Bye.
Yup, the guy from FNAF is in the game, who also has the most abilities. He only has one passive, however, called Fearful, which when a player is affected by it, they will take more damage from abilities and basic attacks. For his first ability, Ventilation Error, he is able to run faster and for longer, and players get blinded and begin tweaking out, which is annoying as hell from the survivor's perspective. Phantom Walk, which is his second ability, turns him into a ghost and is able to get around the map very fast. If he touches a player, it causes the player to get jump scared and applies a fearful effect. With his third move being called Axe Toss, which is pretty self-explanatory if you ask me. He throws his axe and hits players. How much damage, you ask? 65 damage! And can even insta-kill players with the Fearful debuff. He has to retrieve his axe, however. His final ability replaces his third move if he doesn't have his axe though. He simply grabs the player and slams him into the ground, dealing 55 damage. This monster also has the most sound effects and voice lines in the game. I flippin' hate his axe ability. By the way, quick note, the game got a massive overhaul update, so a bunch of monsters got reworked, and I'll just get them out of the way. With the first reworked monster being Inkfell. Possibly the best rework of this update. Before his rework, he was good, don't get me wrong, but this rework has made him quite First things first, most of his abilities apply a inked debuff, which slows down players and highlights. He's also one of the slowest. Devil's Portal, which is his first ability, makes him throw up ink like a newborn and leaves down a portal. He can freely travel through these portals, and exiting out of one makes it explode, damaging and inking nearby players. His second ability, named Devil's Rage, makes him slam his hands onto the ground, create an explosion around him. It also explodes any nearby portals, dealing a whopping 50 damage. This also applies to ink buff. His third ability is by far the best one for chases. He crouches slightly before flying at the player at pretty good speeds. Before his rework, he could only go in a straight line, but now he can fly freely. Players who are caught in this flight is also inked. Alright, this is the second monster to get a rework. As you guys know if you watch part 1, he is one of the starter monsters in the game, but this recent rework has made him very powerful. For his first ability, he slows down and prepares for a powerful blow as his hand catches on fire. He'll strike at the player, dealing 20 damage and applying a burning effect to the player if it's fully charged, and the rage varies depending on how long you charge it. This move is also able to hit multiple survivors at once. His second ability allows him to teleport to the position of your mouse, with the teleport taking longer depending on how far you wish to teleport. And this has no limitations, which means he could teleport all the way to the other side of the map if he truly wished to. For his first and most annoying ability, Vapor will stand still for a couple seconds and summon a weird spider skeleton creature. Vapor is able to sense where it is at all times. These spider skulls will auto-target it to the closest survivor. If this filthy spider goes into contact with the survivor, it will latch onto the face like a face hugger and blind the survivor, while doing tick damage. They can be removed shortly from other nearby survivors or by spamming E on your keyboard. Overall, he's a really annoying monster to deal with. Alright, while this monster doesn't count as a full rework, he was tweaked enough to make me a segment about him. For his first ability, this Pac-Man ripoff will crouch down and spit out a little pellet. The pellet can bounce off walls and objects, and can be shot in a direction if whiffs gives it a little kick, and will deal about 40 damage if it hits a survivor. You would think you need the brains and calculations to land these, but all you need is some luck and a bunch of walls. For his second ability, he has a little seizure and enters Frenzy Mode. In Frenzy Mode, all survivors become highlighted for 5 seconds, increase Whizz's speed, and increases his attack cooldown, and best of all, allows him to spit 3 pellets, meaning if all big 3 hit you, you just instantly die. One big drawback to this ability, however, is that he emits a really loud noise, which allows you to know where he is from farther away. You did kill! Oh, as I was saying, another Mario character. Surprised Nintendo hasn't sued Pillar Chase 2 yet. First things first, this fella has a passive where he gains a small speed boost and regains some stamina if he comes in close contact with the survivor. His first ability, which is named Rooted Barricade, allows her to spawn a wall made out of vines and trees. If the player is right on top, they get damaged. This wall can also block a player's path. Too bad it only lasts like 3 seconds. For her second ability, Royal Entanglement, makes Forest King burst out a bunch of roots in an area around her. Any player in that area will get entangled. If the player doesn't break the roots in 3 seconds, they take damage, and I think they're stunned too. In order to escape, you must run out of its range. For his thirst ability, however, he summons a tiny head that will target one player. That player will get highlighted and trapped to a tree that bursts out of the tiny head if it touches the player.
Do you want to speak with me?
Oh my god! It's PCX! Sonic.exe! Oh my god! So like, this monster has a little lore to it, and by lore, I mean this monster had a downfall so bad it needs to be studied. First of all, he has a passive ability named Final Act that only happens when there's a last player standing. The last player will be taken to a green hill zone on fire, also known as Chicago, and must run to the end in order to escape. PCX is also there, however, and can instantly kill you if he catches up to you. Found You, which is his first ability, makes him turn into a spirit, and in this form, he becomes extremely fast. All players will be highlighted, and when caught by this ability, you'll get pushed onto the ground by PCX and will get 25 damage to the player. This ability doesn't last any longer than 6 seconds, however. His second ability makes PCX begin to fly forward at a slow speed, but the speed builds up quickly. When he catches to a player, he'll trip the player and do a small cutscene, which does about 50 damage in total to the player. This ability can be cancelled if he smashes into a wall, however. His last ability is by far his most useless one. All you do is just jump slightly forward and deal 15 damage if you land on a player. Also, let it be known that as of right now, this character is not in the game because of Sega copyright and stuff, alright? Alright, you can immediately tell who this guy's based off of. Godzilla. He has 3 small passive abilities. As the first one, Nylo has the best hearing out of any monster in the game. For a second passive, anybody that is killed will emit radiation, irradiating players if they touch it. For this main passive, however, he can give players a radiation debuff, which damages the survivor over time while boosting all damage from Nylo while being highlighted. For his first ability, he simply makes him leap a good distance. If a survivor is in the way, he pounces at them and will bite them and stuff, doing 25 damage or 50 if the players are radiated. For his second ability, he lays down a puddle of radiation. Every time he does this, it adds a couple more seconds to the timer, and will give survivors the radiation debuff if they touch it. However, you can only place 2 puddles at the same time. He's a really simple monster, so that's all there is. Alright, next up is this humanoid pile of flesh. He has a passive ability that for every kill increases his damage slightly. If stacked enough, this can be powerful, and also deals extra damage to survivors who are alone, so it's best to stay in a group of your survivor. Elder's Ascension, which is his first ability, Vita Mimik strikes a pose and becomes very transparent and barely visible to survivors for about 22 seconds. While in this state, his footsteps become quieter and is much faster. For his second ability, he slows down and sniffs the fence in the air around him. It makes a humming sound and will highlight all players in his line of sight or that is near him, and will apply a bleeding effect to the survivor. Vita Mimik also has the best vision out of all monsters. Kind of like Nyloicus, this monster is quite simple.
I'm just a killer! Watch out for me! I'll kill you!
A teenager or young adult, I don't really know, gone insane is probably the most famous monster here, who's also emo as fuck. His passive ability is similar to Vita Mimik's passive, makes the map darker for survivors. Silent Walker, which is his first ability, makes Jeff crouch, making him much slower, but also extremely quiet, being able to sneak up on survivors and deal massive damage to the survivors while crouching. So if Jeff catches you lacking, you're dead. But a bar also appears. This bar will fill up when Jeff is near a survivor, and when Jeff exits his crouch with the full bar, he tweaks the hell out and gains a powerful speed boost for a couple seconds. If he exits the crouch when the bar is not full, he only gets a small boost. For second ability, Jeff begins laughing like a crackhead, highlighting all survivors, gains a single extra point of speed, allows him to do his basic attack faster, similar to Whist. However, this lets out a loud noise letting all players near know where he is. But here's the thing, for every kill he gains while this ability is active, the longer it stays, and adds more seconds to the match timer. Once he eventually does run out, he is stunned for about 2 seconds, however. The first bird character, and also the most unique character, in a really crappy way though. What makes him unique is his way of doing basic attacks to players, as he can charge his attack and shoots it out instead of punching or scratching the survivor, which does 10 damage when barely charged, but 30 when fully charged. For his first ability, Balin becomes invisible and can roam freely for a bit, spawning a clone when he is done. This clone will talk to the player and convince them to come closer, and will drop items and give buffs to the player when they do get closer. Balin can explode the clone and teleport to it, however, with the explosion dealing 30 damage. For his second ability, he begins coughing up black smoke, covering him and gains 20 damage buff that lasts for around 10 seconds. Balin can't run while this ability is active, however, and players who are near him will get tight little text speech bubbles that are covering their screens, and will run out of stamina faster, similar to Rosemary. This monster is also unique, technically being two monsters in one, Tinky and Tank form, each having their own set of abilities. The Stricken is a debuff that can be given to survivors, which will have their screen a pink tint and deal damage over time, and will begin to hear voices in their head. For his Tinky moveset, his first passive ability makes it so that standing near a custard bowl, more on that later, a bar will fill up, which gives Stricken a speed boost and makes him scream loudly. Similar to Jeff and Whist, this passive only works on his Tinky form, however. For his Tinky ability, he places down a bowl of pink goo from McDonald's. You can pretty much use this as a way to get constant speed boost and lay down traps for survivors. And his second ability transforms you into his Tinky Tank form, which unlocks the abilities I'm about to talk about. In his tank form, for every kill and form of damage he does, he's able to stay in his tank form for much longer. The first ability for his tank form makes him turn back into his Tinky form quickly. The second ability makes his tank form arise and jump like Mario, landing and creating a small shockwave that stuns survivors. Unlike MX, there is no way to dodge this, but landing this on top of a player does 50 damage instead of instantly killing them like MX. For Lap's ability on his tank form, he lifts a boulder and simply throws it at the survivor, depending on where he's facing. The boulder stuns and deals 60 damage to the survivor if it lands, and can hit multiple at once.
Cecil! I need you, Cecil!
Survivors earn the name. They have 100 stamina and 100 health, but due to an update, they now have abilities. Now, I'm not going to list his abilities because you can just go play the darn game yourself. So, that's pretty much it. Another thing, a lot of monsters are planned to be reworked, and there are a bunch of monsters that are coming soon. Now, I'm too lazy to do them all of them, and this video is going to be outdated anyways when it comes out, so I'm just going to list and show images. By the way, if this video does as good or better than part 1, then I will make a video on the game Forsaken. So, bye for now, and like and subscribe!